Hey, Gabriel, it's Lori Alvarez. How are you?
Hey, Lori, good to see you. Thanks for having me on this Facebook Live.
You bet. We're totally excited. So, Facebook land, we are live. YouTube, we are live, right? And audience, like I was just thinking the other day, like COVID-19 is totally crazy, Gabriel.
It is.
It's been so impactful to people in different ways. And you being what I like to call my husband and my marriage coach, even though he says he's a therapist, I say he's our marriage coach.
Either way, I like it. I like the title.
Yeah. So first and foremost, tell people who you are and what you do so they know where you come from in this conversation.
Yeah, definitely. So Gabriel Alaniz, licensed marriage family therapist, have my own private practice in downtown Glendora. Had that practice now for about 3.5 years full time. It's at full capacity. I really love what I do. I'd say half my clients are couples and then half are individuals. Very passionate about my work. Not only have I gone through the licensing process, but I've just taken a lot of additional trainings where I've put in literally hundreds of hours in bettering myself so I can help my clients out.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, my husband and I only had a few sessions with you prior to COVID-19 closing your doors and then you taking your business virtual just like everyone else did.
Yep.
And our few sessions with you were amazing. Like my husband told people oh, you should go try this. This guy's cool.
That's
right?
Really nice.
I thought I was surprised because, to be completely honest, he was not open to the idea of going. He was like, "Oh, I'll go because you want me to, not because I desire to go." And I told you that when I met you.
You did, and I'm glad you brought that up, Lori, because a lot of people are apprehensive of therapy or coaching or counseling, and I actually feel like I'm pretty good at making people feel comfortable with that. So new people to therapy, they come in my office, they talk to me, and they recognize I'm just a down-to-earth guy, and I just want to help people with their lives and their relationships as best as possible.
Yeah, you did. I can put it in perspective for people just with our personal experience. Like when I went, I already come from the perspective of asking questions to allow myself to figure things out in a different way. And that's from my 10 years of just having a business coach on my end for me. So I can look at my business from different perspectives and not just from Lori's closed-minded perspective. And I was really impressed because that's exactly what you did for Eric and I, is you said, well, Eric, what about this? Or Lori, what about this? Right? And I was like, oh, wow. I didn't even think of it from that perspective. So that was awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate that feedback, and that really is my style. I want people to know that I'm not here to tell people how to live their lives or anything like that. I just want to help them see things from different angles and give them different options so that they could figure out what works best for them. And my approach really is very non-judgmental, but I really love to help people get the results that they want, particularly in their relationships. I really think that the quality of our life has a big part to do in the quality of our relationships. And those take work, and you have to manage them. They don't always come naturally.
That's for darn sure. And that's where I wanted to step into this, right? Like my hubby and I have been married for 22 years, right? I think 23 will be January. We've known each other since we were 6 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so life is just easy and comfortable, and not really.
True. As is the case for every marriage. I think the fun part about my job is that I get to see literally the newlyweds, the pre-married, the dating, the been married for 50 years, and everyone has the same challenges. Marriage is challenging. It's beautiful, but it's also hard. And I really attribute it to a physical body. You could be in shape one year, but if you don't keep working at it, you could be out of shape the next. And I really think that that works with our relationships as well. You have to put the time and work and effort in. And it's really easy with our busy careers, jobs, kids, hobbies, vacations to put our spouses on the back burner. And then sometimes we feel the effect of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, most definitely. Like I was listening to my podcast this morning, which comes into our conversation, right? COVID-19 and how has that changed our relationships, right? And I know you're a follower of Tony Robbins as well, because I shared that in one of our sessions, right? And I wrote it on my board behind me, right? And Tony said this morning, he said, change is automatic, but progress is not.
That's true.
And I was like, wow, like how impactful is that during this time, during COVID-19? I'm just thinking about families because we know I'm a realtor, right? And I deal with families day in and day out and uprooting them and moving them from one location to another. I mean, literally like, here's your roots and let's go.
Yeah.
And this year, like I'm slowly starting to get the calls like, oh, we're going to get divorced. Like we couldn't do this. This was not what we expected. How is COVID-19 impacting relationships right now? What are you seeing, Gabriel?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought this up. And the Tony Robbins quote is powerful. I'm actually going to write that down in a little bit. So thank you for that. But, you know, you bring up a great question. I would say this is just from my experience in my practice and talking also to other professionals in the field of marriage family therapy is it's really becoming very challenging for relationships, particularly if you are spending a lot of time together, if you are living together. This is primarily for the married people. It's hard. What it's doing is it's literally speeding up the relationship. So because people are spending all day with each other every day, 2 months can be the equivalent of an entire year of time. And with that being said, people are starting to get aggravated, annoyed, frustrated, and whatever problems in the relationship are getting enhanced very quickly. Yeah. On the flip side, some of the couples that I've been seeing before COVID have actually said that they're so happy they got tools before COVID hit because they feel like right now they're actually thriving instead of just surviving. And they're really grateful for the sessions because they feel like they know how to navigate some of these waters.
Yeah, I would agree. I think as you know, like I'm a very active person. I like to be out and about. I like to do my thing. And Eric would always be prepared. Okay, Friday and Saturday are going to hit. She's got to go out. She's got to do something. And we know my hubby, though he enjoys going out, loves his downtime.
Yeah, absolutely.
And his quiet time. And so he was like, yes, the governor just gave me an out. I get to stay home. And I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I mean, how are people responding to this, especially more of a extrovert like me, and then you're balanced with an introvert of a husband like I have, to use those words, because I'm not a big fan of labels, right? But how are people handling the stresses of all these canceled events, these canceled weddings, these like marriages and these deaths? I mean, I just had one of my clients lose her husband of 20 years and like she's heartbroken right now. And you can't necessarily do the formal, services, and everything's different. How are you seeing that? How is that impacting people?
I mean, wow. I mean, first off, the questions you ask are powerful and really thought-provoking and literally right on target with some of the major issues that are going on in my office. It's very hard. It's very difficult because we have some of the husbands or wives or, kids who love to go out and love to get their energy being out having fun. And then you have the other one who feels like, no, we need to stay safe. We need to wear our masks. We need to take precautions. And that even is causing challenges where one person might feel like, let's go on a family hike. It's not that big of a deal. Another says, no way, there might be other people there. I don't want to run into them. One person says, let's go on a road trip. Another person says, that's just not smart to be traveling in hotels or Airbnbs. And I think it's really bringing to light people having to really adapt to different personality types, because you got to make it work. You're a team, and you got to put the team first. And it's easy to put ourselves first at times, but putting the team first is very challenging. And if I could add just one more thing, those who have kids, it's a whole new dynamic, because now you have kids who feel locked up in their house or their backyard. They want to see their friends. Parents feel stressed, like, should I allow them to see their friends? Should I allow them to go to birthday parties, get-togethers? Then they're also worried about the COVID, following the orders. Some people are very much rule followers. Some people are rule breakers. And these are dynamics that are playing into relationships as well, because you have married couples arguing over that too.
Yeah. I'm going to say, like, for me personally, right, I know that I have 4 sons and a beautiful daughter-in-law, right? And my 4 sons, my younger ones, want to still go out. They want to still have fun. They want to do their thing. And guess what? I'm like, okay, yeah, you can go have fun. You can. However, I'm just going to remind you, like, kissing and hugging is where COVID comes from. So don't do any of that. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a huge challenge. And then when you have, families where the kids are switching homes, right? That becomes a whole different dynamic, where then one home might be following one set of rules. They come back to their other home following a different set of rules. It becomes very challenging, but it brings to light the need to be good at communicating, problem solving, being open with your feelings, but most importantly, not attacking the other person when you get frustrated. And I think that's usually where a lot of people go, is they get frustrated, they either shut down or they go on the attack. And then that leads to just problem relationships.
I would agree with you 100%, because that is the number one challenge, right? I remember I'm from a divorced family, so I would go back and forth from one house to the other. I didn't even think about that, like, where moms and dads are with regards to that, or parents are with regards to it. Like, one's like, oh my gosh, don't know, oh gosh, I could only imagine.
Yeah, the co-parenting dynamic is very important. And with that being said, I've actually seen some of the couples that have been consistently coming in or on video sessions who are coming in for co-parenting sessions. They've been doing pretty well, actually, because they're figuring out, how can we conquer this as a team versus it's just going to be my way, deal with it. And that hurts everybody when it's that perspective.
Yeah. Gosh, I feel like I'm in one of my sessions where you remind me, Lori, it's not just you. Anyway.
No, it's all of us.
Right.
It's challenging for everyone.
Right. Not to disclose my husband in our sessions, right? But whatever. I don't care. I'm an open book. So then that leads to the next question, right? Which is loss of income during this time, or the exact opposite of that, right? People who are succeeding financially because, hey, the real estate market's rocking and rolling. So people are moving and doing their thing and refinancing and taking money out. What are your thoughts there? How do we balance that?
I mean, you're asking really, really tough questions. First off, yes, obviously everyone knows money becomes a huge trigger, a really stressful point. Unfortunately, a lot of people aren't doing well financially, and that's just a whole different dynamic. It's tough. On the flip side, you have other people who are hiding things that they're doing, where they might be taking out credit cards on the side, hoping that their wife or husband doesn't find out. Those things are coming to light right now. And then, you also have where work is literally improving and doubling. And then how do you handle such an increased workload while making sure that you prioritize your family? Yeah. So I think that is a challenging question. The way I would answer it would be, you've got to talk to your spouse. You got to be real with yourself. If you're single or separated, you got to be asking yourself the question, am I bringing my best home? Or am I giving my family just the leftovers? I know with myself, my business, I could be busy literally all day, but purposefully, and it's hard, say no to create time for my family. Because there was a time when I was bringing home the leftovers to them emotionally where I'm drained, and they got to get the best. So I would say for people where the business is booming, that's fantastic, but don't lose your family in the process. Prioritize them. And then when finances are hard, don't be too proud to have hard conversations with your family. Sometimes we don't want to let people know that we need to go on a budget. We don't need to want to let our kids know that, hey, we can't do the same things we used to do. But I think that that can be an excellent opportunity to have really quality conversations to say, look, we can find other ways to have fun without having to spend all the time. So I think there's different ways of approaching this. What are your thoughts on that, Lori?
I would agree with you. I mean, the number one challenge, right? I mean, they say that divorce is like finances is the leading cause of divorce, right?
Definitely.
And I see people all the time that come to me and they're like, yeah, you know, you think they're this financial, like, woo, and then they're not. They're a disaster area, right? Yeah. And we do know that the market is shifting and the economy is headed for something that none of us are certain about. So I would agree 100% that we just need to keep the lines of communication open and real, be authentic to who we are and where we are in the moment, and we have those conversations with our family. Like, this is what we're doing. This is where we're at. This is how we are. We have in my family business, we have regular conversations about where the money's going. So, I mean, the challenge is, as you know, like Eric and I I'm very passionate and I've got to be like, oh, and this and that. And Eric is more relaxed about things and more analytical about it. And so again, it comes to that, like, hey, let's be aware of our personalities and who we are and receive each other that way, right? And have those conversations. I mean, that's what I see. I mean, money is tough. Money is scary. Gary Keller, who's the creator of Keller Williams, he always tells us, like, you should be looking at your bank account on a daily basis, just once a day, like, look at it, review it, be aware of it, right? Be aware of how much cash you have in the bank and then how much you have in savings, and balance those. And some people are like, I don't ever look at my bank account. And I'm like, that's scary.
Yeah, you're right, Lori. It fascinates me that people view their finances a lot like their health, where I know a lot of people who do not want to get a regular checkup. They haven't gotten one in 15 years. Surprisingly, this is quite common. And because they're scared to see what they're going to find out. And I also see that with finances, where people are scared to see what they're going to find out. So they don't want to look at their account. And I think that I'm understanding to that, but I think sometimes we need to push past what feels comfortable to do what's best for us and our family, such as look at the account. In the same way, get the health checkups so you know where you're at with your body and with your finances. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I can just say real quick, like, back in the day when Eric and I were like barely 6 years married, and he was the only income source at that time, and I was hanging out with the kids, taking care of our 2 little babies. Sure. And I was doing the balance of the checkbook, and I was maintaining the money because he was busy off working every day. And he'd come home and be like, oh, I want to do this. And I'd be like, sure, let's do it. And we didn't have the money to do it, right? Where I just needed to show up and be real instead of wanting to please him and just say, like, hey, things were tough. Like, I don't know how to figure this out. And he and I had that conversation, and we shifted and we did a different thing to fix that, right? Yeah. We came together. Neither one of us were in a position where we were accusing one or the other. And it was humbling.
That is an excellent example. And just to add to that, like, for the entrepreneurs and small business owners and business owners who can generate money weekly, and they can generate a lot of money if they put a lot of time in, I think questions to have with yourself and with your spouse is counting the cost. Is it really worth it, right? Because we can say, yeah, we're going to go on this really nice trip to the Bahamas. But what that's going to mean for the small business owner is, well, I might have to be working a few more weekends or Sundays to make that happen. Are you okay with that? And I think that these conversations need to happen. And then sometimes in hindsight, we also recognize, you know what, I'm burned out now from earning this money just to go on this trip. Yeah. I'd rather just spend time with my family. So these are the ongoing conversations that need to happen. Is that, you follow me on that?
100%. And so then that leads to like, right, social distancing, which you mentioned a little earlier in the conversation, is the differences in opinions. I sat down with clients the other day and they were like, oh, our family had this big, like, oh, we're all going to get together and hang out. And then 48 hours, someone got like, oh, by the way, I was exposed to COVID-19. And then all the family was like, oh my gosh, you gave me COVID-19. And there was all this drama with regards to it. And someone asked me personally the other day, like, Lori, how are you with that and social distancing? And they kind of made me think, Gabriel, and maybe you can help me with this, because I haven't seen my dad physically. I haven't seen my mom physically since this started. And I don't ask friends to see me physically since this has started, because I am busy working and in and out of unfamiliar environments and showing homes and like in contact with people that I don't know. And so I have this thought, like, I need to just stay away. And if someone wants to be in physical relationship with me, they will ask to meet with me, and then I will accommodate that. What are your thoughts? Like, social distancing, it's scary.
It is. And you're bringing up another challenge right now, personally and in the family dynamics that I'm seeing in my office, is where people are kind of split on some of that, where you have a lot of people that feel like, no, we have to follow the rules. We have to be safe. I'm exposed to a lot of people. I don't want to get other people sick. And then you have others saying, it's not that big of a deal. We're young. We're fine. And literally, I have couples that can get a divorce over this issue, because some are saying wear a mask. Some are saying I'm not going to wear a mask. And then if someone gets sick, their relationship's on the line. And that's not an isolated situation. I'm hearing this from a lot of couples. So how to handle this situation? I mean, it's very specific to each person. You know, I feel like obviously I'm going to side on the air of be cautious, wear the mask, social distance. At the same time, I'm not here to tell people how to live their lives. I think they need to make the choices that are right for them. But I do think including your spouse in on the process and choosing to make that choice together versus just telling them what we're going to do is going to just do so much better for your relationship.
Yeah,
it really is.
I would agree. And I think the one common thing I keep hearing through our conversation, Gabriel, is that you're encouraging people to have a conversation rather than say, this is how it is, right?
Absolutely. It's got to be an ongoing conversation, and it's got to be an open conversation. I think sometimes people misinterpret conversation or communication skills to be persuasive skills, or how am I going to get my way skills. And that's not how it works in relationship. It's really, hey, here are my thoughts. What are yours? And allowing the other person really to speak. And when we listen, to truly listen, to understand, not just to listen to say, it's my turn to talk. And I think that is very common of all of us, where we are like, man, I can't wait to get my point across, but we're not listening. And I think we can practice these things on the little things at home with our family, so they can feel loved literally through our listening skills. But that is hard. It sounds so easy, but it's literally so hard.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I'm, you know me, 100%, or I'm like in there, right? And I appreciated one time you had mentioned during our sessions, like, Lori, you might want to hear your tone when you're having a conversation. And I was like, wow, I hadn't thought of it from that perspective, right? My tone and the way, because I'm so passionate and I'm so like, I get so like invested in the conversation.
Yep.
So then I'll be like, what the heck, you know? And then realize, like, okay, we need to have a conversation. I need to sit back and allow everyone to participate and hear and acknowledge.
I mean, I think that is amazing that you would notice that, and it takes a high level of self-control and awareness and social intelligence to be able to read that type of situation. And I think you do it extremely well. And I think that those are skills for other people to keep in mind too. If I could add just one more point, research shows that within like the first 5 to 10 seconds of a conversation is going to determine how it's going to go. So if we're starting off hot, like, what's your problem? Why are you doing this? Our tone, we're attacking. Literally, we can predict that the conversation is going to go to crap. So it's very important, and it's a cheesy term, but it's called gentle startups. And that's like really coming across intentionally with a kind tone, asking questions, sharing feelings versus labels, and attacking the other person, and seeing where that goes. And when we do that, we can have really difficult conversations that are very productive. So, small pointer to keep in mind, how you approach a conversation will determine how it goes. Make sense?
Yes. Right. And the language, right? If you choose to go into this conversation like, okay, I'm going to win this conversation, I'm going to take this one down, that's probably the end result, right? You're going to win, but are you really winning?
Yeah, exactly. I think, that's the hard part, is that you can win, but you don't win as a team. And then when you're laying in bed together, it feels really awkward. Or the next day, driving in the car together feels awkward, and you feel that disconnect. And I think another small point for people to keep in mind, if they want to increase their connections right now, which I think we all do, is there's something called bids for connection. And what that means is, if I literally said to my wife, oh my gosh, on TV, you should see this real quick, it's crazy. If she just ignores that comment and doesn't even respond, she's missing out on a bid for connection, right? And we tend to do that a lot, where I'll say, you got to check out this house for sale. And if she doesn't respond, or if I'm like, hey, what do you think of this drink? She doesn't respond. And sometimes we're so caught up in our own worlds that we're not trying to be rude, but we're just not really paying attention. But the couples that win, literally, they pay attention to their spouse. It's not like, sorry, I'm not going to listen to you until I'm done with all my stuff. Sometimes we have to do that, but sometimes we have to say strategically in our mind, I want to make sure they know that when they ask for my attention, they got it. Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh, I think you were in my kitchen last night.
Everyone's kitchen, Lori.
Like, Eric was like, well, what do you think about this? And I didn't acknowledge him because I'm hyper-focused on replying to clients. And I'm like, one moment, let me finish replying to clients, right? And I did say that. So what would be a better way to do that, Gabriel? Because, we're working from home. We're in the same environments. How do you do that better?
Well, a couple of thoughts. Obviously, if you're on the phone, that's going to be a tough one. If you're in the middle of a text, I understand the desire to want to finish your train of thought. But one way would be, Eric, just give me 30 seconds. I'll be right there. But it's acknowledging like, no, I hear you. I can't wait to see what you're saying. Just give me 30 seconds. I'm finishing up this text message versus, hey, I'll get to you in a minute, or calm down over there. Like, I'll be over there. Geez. That stuff that we all say. But I'm just pointing out that we're all in this together, and just acknowledging our spouse when they say something goes a long way. It truly does. If I could add another point too, oftentimes people in relationship try to reconnect when they're mad at each other. I'll give an example. Say someone got in a fight or an argument, and to make the feel of the environment less stressful, someone makes a joke. Or someone says, hey, I'm going to get a Starbucks. Do you want one? And then the other person's like, no. Or that's stupid. Or they ignore the nice comment or the joke. Oh, why are you trying to make light of this situation? What they're really trying to do is soften the situation. And if the couple can have in mind that those actually aren't bad things. We're not saying that we're going to like sweep everything under the rug, but we're going to say if someone makes a kind gesture, accept it. It really helps the relationship thrive. And then later, work on the argument you had, but it doesn't mean you have to be angry with the other person and treat them like a jerk until you deal with the problem. Do you follow me on that?
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, I know that I need to go on your calendar and book another session.
These are hard things. These are hard things for me to do myself. But I think that's that's the fun part, is I feel like we're all in this together, trying to manage our relationships and make them the best they can be.
So with that said, Gabriel, we're winding this down. It's 2020. It's not what we all anticipated it. It's COVID. Is COVID ever going away? And what's life going to be like now?
I'm not sure, but I think some interesting aspects are, because a lot of our distractions have gone away, such as concerts, sporting events, live activities to go to, youth sports, personal sports. What I'm seeing is people are beginning to ask very life meaning questions, existential questions. People are coming in with saying, you know what, I want to find deeper purpose and meaning in my life. And I think that those are excellent questions to be asking. With that being said, to go back to what I said in the beginning, the quality of our relationships determine the quality of our life. So this is causing people to recognize, wow, I got to spend more time with the people I care about, because oftentimes that is really what matters most. And all these materialistic things people are recognizing don't provide happiness or meaning. It's the people we're in relationship with. So I think I would encourage people to work on their relationships, even for the introverts, to work on trying to be a little social, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a Zoom call, FaceTime call, put themselves out there to connect. Because going along with that, what Tony Robbins says is, the quality of our emotions is the quality of our life. So there's a direct connection between good relationships, which produce good emotions, which produce a good life. Yeah. So those are some of my thoughts that I have.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I have that written down, right? Like, thoughts lead to emotions, and emotions lead to action, and action gets you results.
Yeah.
So through that process, how are you thinking, right? How are you feeling? And then how are you moving forward? And I mean, I just want to offer everyone an encouragement to know whether or not COVID-19 does go away or doesn't. No, none of us will know, right? We'll get more information on it. We're going to grow medically. We always do. They're working very, very diligently in the medical field to get some cure or something with regards to handling the situation. But in the meantime, we've got to move forward and be together in the safest way that we can be together. Yeah. That affirms both parties, right? That affirms both parties. And I think that's the challenging aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think also many of us are creatures of habit, and literally all our habits have been disrupted. And that's been hard on a personal level, with people facing depression, anxiety, and just different types of challenges that are going on in their head that they might feel embarrassed to talk about with others. But a lot of people are feeling that. And I just want to normalize that for your audience, that if you're feeling down or lonely or overwhelmed or overworried, you're not the only person. A lot of people are feeling that way. A lot of people are worried, even though they're employed. They feel like, man, I'm in uncharted waters. I don't know how to do this online. It's so hard. It's so overwhelming. I don't know how to be a teacher and have kids at home. I don't know how to do this. And I want to say, you're not alone. It is really hard, because I think sometimes people see the perfect portrayals online of everyone having it together, and maybe some people do, but I'd say the majority are struggling in this at times. And I just want to say that we're all in this together. Reach out for help if you need it. Talk to your friends. Let your guard down. Let people in.
Yeah. So with that said, Gabriel, where can people find you? So if they want to come to you for help, where's the best place for them to do that at?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. I'd say it's my website, www.glendoratherapist.com would be the best way to contact me. They can also call my cell phone, that is 626-222-0219. But I would say, with the amount of calls I get, probably the fastest way for me to get back to a person is by them going on my website, and they can see my calendar, what the openings are, and they can just book online. So I would say the book online feature is going to be the best way to get in touch with me. And I can do internet, phone calls, FaceTime, Zoom calls, as well as in office with masks. And my office is located in downtown Glendora on Glendora Avenue, open 5 days a week, and would love to be of help. And a big part of finding the right therapist is making sure you're comfortable with the person you're meeting with. And I want to provide that. And if I'm not, I want to send people in the right direction. So whatever I could do to help.
I would agree. I will affirm. I went online. I Googled marriage coaches. He came up. I was like, oh, great. He's not far from me. I looked him up, checked out his website. I liked the positive things you had on your website to say. And you spoke my language on your website. And so I was like, okay. And I booked an appointment without my husband's knowledge and just told my husband, by the way, we got an appointment on this day to go see Gabriel. And he was like, what the heck? And, it worked well because I had my appointment. I knew when I was going, and we sat down, we met with you, and Eric loves you now. And so he's thankful for our time with you. And we're in a small world because we have so many people that we actually know that we didn't know we knew. And
absolutely. It is a small world. There's lots of mutual connections there. So yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Definitely.
So I do encourage you, everyone, if you need someone professionally to talk with, and I'm going to say hey, that's not a negative. I think anyone who's been trained in this area can help you see things from a different perspective, right?
Yeah.
And that's really all people need is for someone to speak into their life and say, well, what do you think about this? Or what do you think of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll share this one last thing, and then we're getting off.
You got it.
You gave my husband this book, right, to help him ask me questions, right, to have conversation. And it's so funny because I will open it and I'll be like, oh, what's a question I can ask Eric today? And I asked him the other day, hey, what's the last ocean you swam in? And that led to a whole conversation that we would have naturally never had I not asked that question.
That's
right?
very.
So, ask great questions, you get better results. That's just what happens. And your relationships just improve.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Gabriel, for your time. I truly appreciate it. You're fantastic. And I'm excited to schedule another appointment because I know that you just put up a couple of things that I'm like, oh, I failed in that area.
Well, Lori, thank you for having me on here. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And I love meeting with you and your husband. You guys are great people. And I would say that the people that gravitate towards my business and style are those who I see a lot of business owners, small business owners, a lot of people in the health field, doctors, nurse practitioners, lawyers, teachers. Really, I see a ton of people, but those who are highly motivated, I think really find my style pretty good.
Yeah, you're very conversational. And for those that don't know, you keep all the information private. So I don't have to worry that Gabriel's going to go share in the world like, Lori's dealing with this or that. Lori shares it all on her own. But you do keep all that information private, correct?
That is correct. That's a big part of my job is confidentiality, and I could literally lose my career and my license if I break that. So I keep people's confidentiality. It's a big deal to me.
So don't be afraid. Reach out. Talk to someone who makes sense for you if you're struggling with issues. None of us know how to do COVID-19. We're all figuring it out together, right? So don't do it alone. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gabriel. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you too.
And if anyone wants to get in touch with Gabriel, I'll put it in the comments down below. Please feel free to share this forward with someone that you might know that's struggling. We would love to be of service. Have a great one, Gabriel.
You too. Catch you later.
Okay.